Hi, good morning, good afternoon, whatever it is where you are. It's morning still here. It's 11 a.m. here in the lovely, boring Oklahoma. So I'm going to wait a second. Ooh, I can see the purple in my hair today. It's fading a little bit and getting brighter. So I can see the purple. How exciting. Okay, so I'm going to get this pulled up on my phone. I'm going to give people a minute to hop on live, and then we will get started. Oh, that was a text, not pulling it up on my phone. So, as always, if you're here, say hi so that I know you're here. I'm going to pull it up over here so I can read comments. Sometimes it's easier to read comments on the computer, and then sometimes I like to read them on my phone, so I just pull up both. So that's what I'm doing. So, as you come on live, let me know you're here and say hi. Bianca, hi! So glad to have you! So, let's get this pulled up over here. We're going to wait just a second before we get started. Okay, so we're talking about today finding your special sauce and what that means, first of all, and how to do it. So, let's wait a second. How are you guys doing today? Yay, first time ever watcher. Yay, I thought you were that was a new name that I haven't seen before. So, yay, I love it. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad. So, I have my mouse rat shirt on today too. I just realized, I was like, oh shit, it's 11. I need to be live right now. I didn't have time to change, so 5 million points if anybody can tell me what this is. Kind of my favorite band ever. But okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started so we don't waste anyone's time. I like to keep these, so since we have new people here today, I like to keep these really like short and sweet. I want really like actionable steps that you can implement right now and do something with. So I am going to transition, in a couple months to doing like live webinars that are going to be much more detailed, like in-depth training on, either techie stuff or whatever it is that are much more deep dives. But these Thirsty Thursday calls are like high level, just here's something that you can take and run with it and hopefully make a difference like right freaking now. So that's the purpose of these Thirsty Thursday calls for all of our new people. It's a start over moment in my business, so this is perfect. Yay! Good. I'm glad this is perfect. Okay, so let's dive in. So normally on Thirsty Thursday calls, I'll have a topic and then I'll have like 3 things underneath that kind of lead to the answer. I'm kind of switching it up and doing it backwards today. So I'm just going to tell you the answer and then kind of reverse engineer from there. So how to find your special sauce in your business. You are your special sauce in your business. That's the answer. I have my microphone plugged in too, so hopefully it will like auto connect. Anyway, you are your special sauce in your business. That's the answer. Final answer. So if you found me from, my quiz, you probably already know that and you're like, what the hell? That's not helpful at all. So what I want to talk about in this live is, now that we know the answer is us, I'm my special sauce. Now that we know that, how do we then take it and articulate it into our brand online or even in person so that other people get it? That's really what this one is going to be about. So if you have any questions along the way, type them in. Don't be afraid to ask, even on the replay too. Like, ask me anything. I'll answer whatever you got. So the very first thing to do to figure out how to articulate what it is about you that makes you stand out, I guess I should define special sauce just in case anyone doesn't know what that means. I actually hate that term. I think it sounds really gross. But so like your unique selling proposition or your differentiator, or those are other things that you might hear it called online. How to take that and put it online so that a random person who finds your website or meets you in an elevator pitch, is going to just get it. They're going to get what you do. They're going to know that you are the person for them. You are the right person, and easily find that out, like without spending 100 years talking to them and trying to convince them. So it's really important to get this nailed down because it makes everything else in your business so much easier. Like, it's easier to make sales. It's easier to add people to your list. Once you can articulate what it is about you that makes you awesome, because it's you that makes you awesome, but you got to figure out how to say it, right? Okay, so very first thing is focus on a niche. So I'm going to type these in as I go. And this one, like, this is the one that I get the most pushback on is, I don't want to focus on a niche. I have too many interests, or I want to do all these other million things and blah, blah, blah. And I say blah, blah, blah lovingly, but bear with me for a second. So number one, focus on, I can't type today, on a niche. Okay? That's number one. And here's why. When you just do everything for everyone, you can't get specific enough to talk about it in a powerful way. So what that means, like, let's say before I transitioned into Brand Strategist, I was just a graphic designer. I did graphic design, on the side, freelance, whatever you want to call it, while I was still in my 9-to-5 job. So when I just say I'm a graphic designer, that means a billion different things to a billion different people, right? So when I'm trying to like make a website or talk about something on my, sorry, I have like this weird hair that's bugging me. Anyway, when I'm trying to talk about it on my website and I see like, all these other websites of graphic designers, they all pretty much say exactly the same thing, like, I'm a graphic designer. I help make your shit look pretty. I mean, essentially that's what it is. That's what graphic design is. There's more to it than that, obviously, but essentially all the graphic designers are saying the same thing. So focusing on a niche, what that allows you to do is to really target that message that you're saying. So instead of saying, I'll make your shit look pretty, or hopefully you're not saying that, but instead of saying something so vague that everyone else is saying, you can focus and say, I'm a graphic designer for doctors, or I am a graphic designer for online entrepreneurs in the health and fitness industry. So what that does is it allows you to be much more specific and really hit the different needs of that specific niche. So like, think about when you're looking for a service. Like, let's say you needed someone to, I just talked to a new person in this group this morning that was a Pinterest, wanted to do Pinterest stuff. So like, let's say I'm looking for someone to run my Pinterest account. And I go and I see all these agencies online that's like, social media management, we'll help you grow your following. We help you do, plan your content and all this stuff that all these social media agencies do. I'm like, yeah, they could probably help, right? But I really just need help with Pinterest. So then I find this other person's website. It's like, I am a Pinterest strategist. I will help you with promoted pins, and I will help you create visually appealing pins that your ideal clients like. Stuff like that, that's very, very specific to what I'm talking about or what I'm needing. Like, hell yes, this is my person right here. Get it? You can absolutely do it the other way. Most people do it the other way. Most people don't focus on a niche. They say, I'm the social media strategist, or I'm the graphic designer, or I'm the life coach. Whatever it is, you can do it that way. But I promise you, it'll make it 80 bajillion times easier if you don't do it that way. So, number one, focus on a niche. Let's see what Bianca says. I was just talking about this to my husband. I've had people tell me not to narrow my niche down so much, but I just felt like I disagreed. Yeah. And that's the funny thing about like online stuff anyway. You can find anyone that will tell you to do one thing, and then somebody that will tell you to do the exact opposite. So that's what it really comes down to. Like, what's right for you. And like, not all people agree with me, obviously. There are people that tell you to do the exact opposite, and that's totally fine. Like, you got to figure out what's right for you. So this is what is right for me, and this is what has been right for a lot of my clients that I've worked with. So it freaking works if you do it. The other way probably works if you do it too. It's just finding that way that you feel good about, you know what I mean? Like, the way that resonates with you and your ideal clients, which perfectly transitions into step 2 of finding your special sauce, is nailing down your ideal client. So I'm going to type that one in. Number 1 was focus on a niche. Number 2, nail down ideal client. So everyone get so bored with this topic. And it's because every single entrepreneur on the internet talks about it all the time. But that's because it's really effing important. So I'm going to talk about it again. And I talk about it all the freaking time. But I feel like I talk about it in a way that's a little bit different than a lot of the other stuff that I see online. So hopefully you'll bear with me. And it kind of brings me to my next point too, which I was at an event in New York City this weekend. For those of you who are new, I live in Oklahoma. So New York City is like a totally different freaking world. But it was awesome. And I was there for an event with my coach and my mentor. And she said something on stage because we actually were talking about ideal clients at this, this high level coaching seminar. And she said, for all of you out there who are like, I don't need this, I already know this. She said she has never met or heard of a successful entrepreneur who has said those words about anything. And I really, really liked that. So it's so easy to get caught up in like, oh, I've already done ideal client research. I already know who I'm working with. I know who I'm targeting. Try to expand your attitude around this if that's you. Because I know that was me at first. And I was like, oh, I already know my ideal client. I work with, whatever, entrepreneurs in whatever it is. I don't know, your demographic, geographic, all that stuff. But in reality, like there's so much more to it than that. And just keeping that open mind about stuff that maybe you're like, I don't know if I really need this. Do it anyway. Like every single time, still to this day, I just did it this weekend. Every single time I go through like these really high level exercises of focusing on your ideal clients and figuring out what it is that they need and what they want, I get even more clarity every single time. So before you're like, oh, ideal clients again, bear with me, okay? So number 2, focus on your ideal client. So when I talk about ideal clients, it's not just about those demographics and psychographics and, all of the typical, things that you learn about them. Like I do ask when I work with clients, I do have you, focus on those things at first, but I feel like that part is really just for you. So here's my picture of an ideal client. I have one person in my head that is my ideal client. And when I'm writing a blog post or writing a social media Instagram caption or whatever it is that I'm doing, if I'm recording a video for a live or, hypothetically right now when I'm talking to Facebook Live, I have this image of this person in my head and what is it that they need to hear right now? And how do I say this in a way that they are going to understand it? That's my goal with my ideal client. That's why we do the research. Same thing with like even your website in general, like bigger picture stuff, writing to that specific person to meet them exactly where they are right then and understanding what they need. That's the purpose of that ideal client. So when we're talking about it in terms of like finding our special sauce, that's where it's really important because you can be like the best person in the world at what you do, but if your ideal client doesn't need what you do, it's not gonna be a good fit, right? So nailing down that ideal client, yeah, you can think about, are they a male or female? How old are they? Where do they live? What do they do in their free time? Stuff like that. I do that a little bit, and only for me, like I said a second ago, that part's for me just because it helps me get really, really specific, and really ground that visualization. So it was really hard for me at first to like talk to this imaginary person. So like I went and found a stock photo of my ideal client and like gave them a name. I think it was Allison when I first started, like gave them a name, and Allison's like sitting in her 9-to-5 job and hating life, and like she had on red nail polish and like getting very specific with stuff like that. I think she was like 32 and had 2 kids or whatever it is. That part's for me. That helps me. So the part that we're talking about today when we're talking about ideal client and picking your special sauce or finding your special sauce is the much, much deeper level. Like, what are her or his, if you're, working with both. I almost said doing both. That's a different topic. I'm going to take a drink on that note. So I'm talking about like the much deeper level stuff, like their values and their core beliefs and the types of things that do not change about that person regardless of where they are in their life. Like for me, I value, certain things, in business, like integrity, transparency. Like I have my list of values there, and just my core beliefs about the world and like how people should interact with each other and things like that. Those type of things are not going to change whether I'm in a 9-to-5 job or whether I live in Connecticut or Oklahoma. Like those are the things that allow you to create those really powerful connections and those really powerful conversations with your ideal clients, because that's where you make decisions. There's a Simon Sinek is what I'm trying to say. I think there's a link in one of my welcome series emails to one of his videos about the Start With Why, and he has a whole book that's Start With Why, but it's really, really powerful, and it aligns with my message perfectly. It's like starting with why. He talks about like Apple computers and how their core, message and belief is to think differently. And that's why they're able to sell, computers. And he has his little circle. It's like computers and iPods and, all the different crap that Apple sells. I say crap. I love it. I have Apple everything. But if you look at someone like Dell or HP, and if they came out with a phone or an iPod, you'd be like, what the hell is this? Like, and it's because of those core beliefs, and they have connected with their ideal clients on that deeper level about the way that they view the world. So that's step 2, figuring out your ideal client. Really, really, what motivates them? What, keeps them awake at night? What do they believe about the world to be true? So, number 1, quick recap. Number 1, focus on a niche. Number 2, nail down your ideal client. Those types of things are the ones that are going to let you always know what to write on your website. Know what to write in a blog post. So, I hear a lot of times people are like stuck and they create this awesome website and they need to go like out there and actually launch it into the world, and they're like, I don't have anything to say. I already said everything on my website. I don't know what to talk about. So once you really nail down your niche and your ideal client, then you got it. Like you will never, ever, ever run out of things to say. I promise. And if you feel like you have and you're still like, I don't know what to talk about, I would strongly suggest going back to these 2 things and see if you can either narrow down your niche a little bit more or narrow down your ideal client a little bit more. So, number 3, last and final one, is your personality. Y'all should have seen that coming. Your personality is really what makes your special sauce work. So, you can see all these entrepreneurs out here that most of them, at least the ones that I follow, have these things nailed down, their ideal client and their niche. A lot of times, starting out, you can see that some aren't as strong in one area or another. But in a perfect world, you have your niche nailed down perfect. Like, let's use the example I said before. I'm a graphic designer for health, or for online entrepreneurs in the health and fitness industry. I think that's what I used earlier. So that's my niche. My ideal client is, and this is hypothetical, obviously, this is not really me. My ideal client is someone who is an online entrepreneur who really, really wants to quit their 9-to-5 job and launch their health coaching business and have that sense of freedom. And obviously that's way, way, way too vague. If this were a real example, that is not enough. The ideal client needs to be much deeper than that. But for this example, so we see that all the time online. And yet you're still like blending in with everyone else. There are so many coaches for that specific, or there's so many graphic designers for that specific industry, right? So the last piece is the one that really ties everything together. And that is your personality. So I feel like most of the people in this group found me from my brand archetype quiz, so this shouldn't be any surprise for you guys. Hi, Angie and Emily. I saw Emily joined a few minutes ago too. So yeah, number 3 is your personality. And that's really where you tie those pieces together. So I'll just use myself as an example here for this one. When I take the brand archetype quiz, remember, nobody fits into one box perfectly, right? Like there are 12 archetypes, and yes, you have a dominant archetype, but nobody fits into one box perfectly, right? So my primary archetype is the creator. That means I'm very good at like big picture strategy and, creativity. Big surprise there. But I'm also like so I have the creator is my primary archetype, and then my other 2 are Maverick and Sage, which is really a weird combination, honestly. So most creatives, are not analytically minded like the Sage. So putting those 2 together and really, going through this process and understanding that about my personality, that's something that most people don't have. So when I have my target audience, I have my niche. Now when I'm talking about it, I can get to the part where like, hi, I'm Brooke. You know that part where you get to the website, it's like pain points. Here's what you get. And it's like, oh, hi, I'm Brooke, or hi, I'm blah, blah, blah. So that part is where you really pull in this personality piece. So I have my niche nailed down. I have my ideal client. And then I get to that part, and that's where I really get to talk about what it is about me that makes me different to tie those pieces together. So for me, I have this big picture creative, this side over here that I can really help, get your website looking awesome and make your logos and all of that stuff, all of the graphic design piece. But then I'm also have that Sage archetype. And since that's such a weird combination that most creatives don't have that. Most creatives don't have, the nitty-gritty details and like attention to detail and, logically, practically think through every step. Usually creatives need a lot of help in that department. I'm like the weird magical unicorn of those 2 processes so that I can really help, pull all those business pieces together while still maintaining that big picture and not getting lost in the details and still maintaining that overall vision. That's really how my special sauce like ties together. It comes from that personality piece that a lot of other people don't have. So, number 1, niche. Number 2, ideal client. Number 3, understanding your personality. So I realize I went step 1, 2, 3, but step 3 really needs to come first. Step 3 should really come first, because once you understand your personality and like understand what it is about you and your business that you love doing, that it's going to make it easier to pick that niche and nail down that ideal client, right? So, for example, I am an introvert, like a lot. So I always encourage everybody to like do all of the personality tests, not just the archetypes. So like for Myers-Briggs, I'm an INTJ. So that also speaks to that, creative and analytical side that most people don't have. But I'm an introvert. So like I hate doing certain things like outside of my comfort zone. You know what I mean? So I picked an online business for a reason. Because of that, because it's so much easier for me to connect with people through my computer screen, because I promise you, if I meet you in person, and I actually did get to meet a lot of my online friends in person at this event, I promise you, I can make it awkward in like one hot second. I'm not as good in person. So an online business works perfect for me, right? And until I like really dug deep into that personality and understood those things about myself, I just stayed stuck in this mode of like, this is how you're supposed to run a business. And if you want a business, then you need to like go knock on doors and go cold call people and, all of these things that don't really fit in the online world. And definitely just didn't fit for me. But I was stuck like, if I want to have a business, this is how the business world works. This is what I need to do. But that's so effing not true. Like, All the rules are made up. You get to do whatever you want and make it work for you. So understanding that personality first and figuring out what it is that you really want and what's going to make you happy in your business. Start there, and then those other two things come easier. But hopefully you can see how those three pieces kind of all fit together, and then that's really what's going to set you apart. So you can have one of each, and that's a great start. Or you can have one of the three, and that's a great start. Or you can have two, and you're doing even better. But it's not until you incorporate all three that you're really like getting those ideal clients that are like, oh my gosh, yes, this is my person. This is who I need to work with. Like, this is it. And I love getting those emails. And I do get those emails, and it's like my favorite thing ever when they like sign up for my quiz and they're like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to work with you. Those are the kind of things that I love hearing, and that's what I want you to hear too. So get all three of them lined up. And it's a process. I'll just say that too. It's not like, hop off here and nail all three down real quick. It's an evolution. And like I was saying a few minutes ago, at this event, I went through these foundational exercises again even. And they still, I still get more clear every single time. But having something to work from, you can't get started until you have something to work from. So dig into these three and get something that you're really confident and you feel really proud of with the mindset that going forward, this is probably going to shift a little bit and this is going to change, and that's totally okay. And that's awesome. But you have to have a good starting point so you can just freaking do it and get started, right? So I'm freaking proud of myself today too. It's 11:27, so like right at my 30 minutes. We got a few minutes for questions left. If anyone has any questions, I'll scroll up through here and make sure I didn't miss any real quick too. But now is the time, y'all. Let's see here. Tammy Scott. I love the visualization. It really helps it become real. Yes, it does. Like, I struggle with that, like, still. That's one of the things that, my mentor, like, it's part of her daily mindset practice and is that visualization, and that's something that I've always struggled with. Like, it's really hard for me to, imagine this whole other world. That's that sage side coming out, that practical, logical side coming out, where it's really hard for me to envision something that's not, actually true if I'm having trouble believing it to be true. So pulling in those specific details to really ground that vision helps me a lot. Like, lots of detail. So cool. Yay. I'm so glad that you're all here, and I can't wait to see what you come up with. So if you guys feel like you have your special sauce already, or, later, if you have some ideas that you want to like put in the group, I would love to give feedback on whatever you got. And for anyone watching the replay too, same thing. And like, ask any questions that you have, and I want to hear what your special sauce is. So put it in the comments, guys. Or if you have, a separate question, just put it, you can do a separate post too, but I want to hear them. Okay, cool. You guys have a great day, and I will see you Sunday for sure, but I'm sure I'll be back before that too. All right. Have a good, great, awesome, freaking-tastic day. Bye.